everyone, it's RuPaul's Drag Race, Season 13, Episode 8, Social Media, the Unverified Rusical. And I guess I just haven't been paying much attention. I thought for sure this was Snatch Game Week. I know it was in the UK, and they started a week after the US version, but the US version had several non-eliminating episodes. And I still don't mind that. A lot of people are like, oh, this season's been so long, there's no progress. I kind of feel that way a little bit after this episode, but in general, I love spending extra time with the queens. I enjoy it. It's not a real issue to me. Like every other issue, every other episode I don't agree with all of the judging. And I have to admit, didn't quite follow the Rusical all that well. I got most of it. I mean, obviously most of it's really obvious, but kind of admit I don't know who Foxy was. Foxy meant to be like Foxfire? I don't really know what Foxy was. Anyway, so poor Utica's getting beaten down, kind of like I'm doing the best I can, and was so nice about it. And wasn't like, I deserve so much better, but it's definitely, this happens every season. This is actually very similar to Trixie Mattel's arc in her first season, where she's like, and Jan and a lot of people that go on to great success who are like, I'm doing the best I can, I'm putting the best out there, and they're not really getting it, and it's frustrating. And we kind of had the same with Denali. And then Denali and Rose kind of get into it, and I'm like, no, don't fight with each other. In my mind, they're like the two of the two that have done well and get overlooked, so I want to see them. And then the pork chop curse is over. Because originally, up until last episode, only the pork chop queens, which was the loser group, and I put loser because they're not losers, but they were the as they say in archery sometimes, the non-advancing queens, the ones who did not win their original lipstick. Lip sync, sorry, I guess I'm still a little dazed. Anyway, they're going to do the Rusical. This is a ongoing challenge. I don't off the top of my head know how long they've been doing this challenge. I don't think it's I don't think it goes back as far as a lot of, like, Snatch Game goes all the way back to the second season. I don't think it's quite that long, but it's been around. It's kind of a staple of the season. We're slowly gathering all of these, like, every season's going to have a Rusical, every season's going to have a Snatch Game, that kind of thing. So we're starting to really gather in the 13th season a lot of, like, when is this going to happen? So it's about social media, and like I said, I didn't fully get it. It wasn't the last couple of ones we've had, like Madonna and Cher and RuPaul. RuPaul, I wonder if that's the original one. Anyway, someone tell me in the comments. I'm sure someone's a Drag Race historian. That was this season with Alyssa and Coco. I'm trying to remember what season that was. I think that was the same season as Jinx. Is that right? Anyway, someone tell me. Someone tell me in the comments because you're smarter than I am. Anyway, those are very, like, in line. Here's Ru as a baby. Here's through their career. Same with Madonna. Here's early Madonna through recent Madonna. Cher, same with Cher. So it's very, and this is, of course, the same as linear. It wasn't as clear to me, though. We have an MC. We have Foxy, who, I guess the story's being told around. We have Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Russian bots, Marky Tuckenberg. Is that what it says? Anyway, and so a lot of people get their roles. Tina gets her role. Got Mick, wants to be one of the two Russian bots. Simone wants to be Instaglammy or whatever. I guess we didn't really see Elliot and Candy pick anything, so I guess nobody, it just wasn't interesting enough. And then we have sort of an argument between Denali, Rose, and Utica, which is that Utica says, I'll do lady tweets, and everyone kind of agrees. Kind of. And Utica has already stated, you know, I'm helping a lot of people. I'm helping people sew. I'm helping people with challenges. I gave up the role to Olivia and last week to be nice, and it's not helping me. I need to be a little bit more firm. Now, a lot of queens, this happens a lot. This happens. This is kind of a given in a reality show culture, which is there's someone who tries to be a fair competitor and at some point gets starts to feel a little bit like, wait a second, I'm helping everybody else win. And sometimes sometimes people on stage will say, you know, I couldn't have done it without so and so, and sometimes they don't. Anyway, so Utica is like, I'm going to kind of stick to my guns. Denali says she wants to do either, and then, so Rosé says she wants to do Foxy, Denali says she wants to do Foxy or tweets, and finally says, okay, I'll go ahead and take tweets, and Utica's like, I already said I'm going to take tweets, and I'm going to kind of stick with that. It was kind of a little nice, and then Denali and Rosé kind of get into it about like, well, they both want it, they both have, I mean, they both have strong arguments, both of them need a win. At this point, this is not like someone, of course, though, the argument is everybody needs a win. You really can't, you know, even if you won the last one, winning twice will help you. If you won 2 ago, you've got to remind people. If you won 4 ago, you've really got to remind people. There's really not someone who can safely slide for a long period of time. Now, of course, as always happens, fighting for a position can go one of 2 ways. It could be your downfall. It could be your savior. A lot of times people who don't get the role they want end up doing twice as well. Sometimes though they bomb because they saw a problem with it and they knew it. So it's kind of hard to say. So anyway, Denali and Rosé, please don't fight, audition against each other. They both do an excellent job, but I agree that Rosé does a little bit better. They get their roles. I was not crazy. I know a lot of people, this is a total personal thing. This is not like a moral judgment where I can objectively say, I was not crazy about when Denali and Rosé and Utica were kind of talking through it. Olivia and Gottmik really hamming it up and being like, oh, ooh, oh. But I'm sure a lot of people thought that was hilarious and enjoyed it. Just for me, I kind of felt like, but then I'm a little sensitive, you know, I want everyone to get along a little bit, and I felt like it was really kind of making an already frustrating situation, especially with Olivia and Gottmik both having won a lot, and Olivia having won twice in a row. It just really felt to me a little bit like, look at all the struggling people arguing. Oh, that's so funny. I'm really putting some stuff in there. Anyway, they go, what is this? What does this even mean? Oh, so then they talk to Anne Hathaway, who comes in. I guess is just a big fan of the show, kind of gives them some advice, gives some great, really concrete advice, like beyond, like, believe in yourself, stick to it, go for it. Like, she gives some really useful, practical advice, like, what do you do with an accent? Well, try to think of someone. You're not just doing an accent. Try to think of a person with that accent that you could characterize because it brings more life to the role. I was like, that is great advice. That is great concrete advice. Same with if you're going to die, try to get your moment in before you die, which kind of comes back around. Then we hear about how Tina Burner, who I am warming up to. Now that they're a little less focused on the clique, which is kind of just faded away. We just don't really see it anymore. I think once Tina and Elliot kind of work things out, and Candy and Elliot kind of work things out, it seems like the clique is, I don't really see it as much. And I think that's been a benefit to all the members of the clique when it comes to kind of winning the audience. So I like Tina Burner a little bit more. This episode, I'm not saying that she's now my favorite, although she's welcome to be yours. I'm just saying, like, I'm starting to see the Tina Burner that I saw in the Meet the Queens that interests me. Like, I'm finally starting to see that. Anyway, we find out about Tina Burner dating Graham Norton. That's something I haven't mentioned, but I did because I wanted to find out what boy group Tina Burner was in. And so I never found that out. So if you ever found out what boy band Tina Burner was in, let me know. But I did find when I started to search, because it came up in a search in an article about Graham Norton, dated Graham Norton, who I think even people who aren't in the UK should be familiar with. I see tons of stuff on YouTube. Anyway, dated Graham Norton. They talk a little bit social media. I have seen the meme of Alone in the VIP Room. Did not realize it was Candy until I didn't put the pieces together. Like, I think I might have seen it and realized it was Candy recently, but I didn't realize it was the same meme I had seen for a while. So all of that. So that was really interesting. They talk a lot about social media, which is very timely. Candy's gotten really bad in social media and stuff like that. And I think when you're on a show like this, obviously people are going to discuss it, but I think there's a big difference between like doing a video like this and discussing your opinion and like writing death threats. And I don't think it should have to, I feel like it's weird to have to even explain that me saying critical things in a YouTube video and not tagging her and not sending it to her and forcing her to watch is a different thing than sending death threats. And so I think most people who watch my recap understand the difference. So I think I'm preaching to the choir here. Anyway, they do the Rusical. I didn't think anyone was terrible. I thought Candy was definitely in the bottom. Just, I feel like they asked her to change her energy, and she has been listening to that note, but she's turned it down so low we've lost any energy. And I feel like this would have been a good opportunity, especially for the one that she did, to like be super, like bring that level of energy, but into a different area instead of being whatever, however she would describe her energy, bring it into like the ultra sex kitten energy. But I understand that, you know, they've set a really big ask of her and not given her a lot of time to figure out what that looks like. And so, you know, I think that's really common. I think a lot of people after that note would be forced to either ignore the note or follow the exact trend she is. So I don't think she was bad. I didn't think anyone was terrible. Some of the vocals were really bad. I'm not a good singer either. I don't know what I would do in that situation. And so, you know, I think it's really tough because it's not, you know, like if you just don't, it'd be like having a splits competition. And if you're just not limber and you just don't have a training, there's not a lot you can do. And if you just don't have a good voice, I guess you can do voice training. But I don't know really realistically what voice training can do. Can it bring you from an F to a D? Can it bring you from an F to a C? And I don't mean the notes. I mean like grade-wise, like from bad. Because I would consider myself bad. And I don't even know what voice training can do. So anyway, so I didn't think anyone was terribly bad. I thought, you know, it's always the thing of like, if Tina takes on a huge role and doesn't perform it perfectly, how do you grade her versus someone in a very small role who didn't quite pull it off? And I think I do agree with the top and bottom. They have a yellow runway. I would like to point out that though Tina has gotten a lot of pushback for always wearing the same color. This was a yellow runway. She didn't have a lot of options, but she didn't put red on it. So there you go. I actually liked it. I was not crazy about Simone's, but I have said this repeatedly, and I know it is just my personal taste, which is when they just do strapping and they have no padding, to me it just doesn't look transformative. And maybe that's just, and this is just my bias, and this is, I've said it all season long. I've said it to Got Mick. I've said it about Simone multiple times. I've said it about other queens. I used to say the same thing about, oh, now I'm so tired, I can't even think of all the names. Past winners that would do that and they wouldn't wear anything. I'm not crazy about just the pasties because to me it looks like a boy body with just a pasty on. It doesn't look transformative. But that's my personal opinion. That's my personal taste about drag. And I've just got to accept that I have been left in the dust, which is not surprising because I am not a young thing. And so, my personal opinion, Utica, I found the skirt a little odd. It took me pretty far into the runway to realize that it was like a overall, like it was a skirt with like an overall attachment. And what I mean is like overall is like a panel, and then a strap. So I found it a little odd. It was very interesting though. Olivia, Utica, and Elliot being safe made sense to me. I actually worried that Utica might have been in the bottom. The final lyrics did look good. She didn't camp up the face as much as she has in almost every other challenge. So I thought that was great. But really struggled in the recording. And we never really know how much do they judge the recording process. Because sometimes they'll bring it up and be like, you really struggled in that. And sometimes they don't. So anyway, we end up with Tina in the bottom. They said that she stopped lip syncing before it was done. I didn't catch that, but they showed a replay. Still didn't catch it. But I believe them if they say it. Simone and Candy. And I can't disagree. Winner was Rosé. Denali and Got Mick were both in the top. This is a big part of the redemption story. Is Denali didn't get the role she wanted. Ended up being in the top. So that's great. I agree with Rosé being the winner. I thought all three deserved to be there. So I guess I do kind of agree with a majority of the stuff. Simone and Candy are in the bottom. It would be very, very unusual for Simone to lose based on how they do the lip syncs. Meaning that somebody has to have someone who has won consistently and been the top almost every week, not every week, but often in the top, to go against someone who's been kind of struggling, middling to bottom. Performance-wise, just being really clear that I'm talking about their report card, would be really unusual unless Simone forgot the words, didn't know the words, stood in one place like a didn't pull the Valentina or a Charlie Hyde, or walked off the stage, or refused to lip sync, as we've seen some people do. Anyway, so I kind of knew Simone was going to stay. I was kind of waiting for them to say, it's double Shantae. They did perform really well. And I kind of just had this general sense that they weren't going to say goodbye to Candy. It's funny because it was supposed to be this big, like, oh my gosh, you're saved. It's a shock. I kind of feel like it actually would have been a shock if they let Candy home. Like, to not do a double Shantae. It's funny because it's now getting to the point to where we feel like if Ru likes someone enough, it's going to be a double Shantae regardless of performance. I don't hate Candy. I don't wish her ill. I'm excited to see what she's doing. I personally had felt that it would be an appropriate time for her to go. I just didn't think that she had performed. But then again, I have never thought she's performed as well as RuPaul has. So I have to kind of step back and go, if I was looking through RuPaul's eyes, she's been really consistent. And so the last second, like you're walking back, goodbye everyone, I love you, thank you. Oh, by the way, I can't let you go just yet, stay. I know it was supposed to be like a big, like, oh, I can't believe it. But for me, it was almost the opposite, like, oh yeah, I kind of saw this coming. It's actually not that surprising as much as if she actually had let her go. And of course, what I'm thinking is, we've only lost, we're at, right now, at the beginning of this episode, we had 9 people, and we started with, was it 13? And so we've only lost 4 people, and we're going to do a double Shantae right now? Like, I'm not saying that I don't like the extended season, it just didn't feel like, anyway, those are just my opinions. No hate anywhere. Tell me if you disagree. A lot of people, I look on Twitter, were not that surprised. They were happy. They felt it was deserved. I think most of my feelings come down to, it feels like it was predictable that RuPaul would have done that at this point, period. So there you go. You just kind of know, not going to let Simone go, with all of this, unless she had bombed it. And no one bombed this. No one was completely bombed it. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Tell me what you think. Hit me with the comments. Bye.